Hi everyone, my name is Olga and I'm a tour guide in Kiev, Ukraine. One day I hope that I will meet all of you in person and I will be showing you my marvelous Kiev in invincible Ukraine. Up to that time you can subscribe to my channel, and here I am showing you the most incredible places in Ukraine and also in Europe. And I'm showing you also my way of life, how I'm living all through this hard times during the war, and what I feel, what I think. And today I would like to share with you the facts about the Kakhovka power plant that was blown up yesterday on the 6th of June by Russians, and I will tell you about the consequences that it might have for the future of Ukraine, because now people even don't realize what has happened yesterday. Yesterday, on the 6th of June, Russian occupiers blew up Kakhovka Dam, and currently it is completely destroyed and it cannot be rebuilt. Probably after our victory we will use more than $1 billion and we will rebuild it in the 5 years term, but now we're not speaking about that. There is flood, and there are about 80 settlements that are under the threat of the complete flooding, and 10 settlements are already flooded. There are about 16,000 people on the right bank of Kherson region, and currently the evacuation continues. But the situation is critical because Ukraine doesn't have access to the people and to the territories which are under Russian control, that are under the occupation. And people are basically now sitting on the roofs of the buildings. They are calling their relatives on the on the other territories of Ukraine, asking for help, and there is no help. Yesterday, Ukraine was evacuating the people from the controlled territories, and that was happening under the constant shelling. Can you imagine the shock of people? They just lost everything. Now they are trying to escape, and there is the artillery fire from everywhere. So Russians are demolishing everything, and they are not stopped by anything. They understand that they will not live on these territories, on these lands, and they are trying to cause maximum damage and maximum destruction. With this blowing up, they made these lands absolutely uninhabitable, and they made it deliberately. Like, if we are not living here, then nobody will be living here. There was a special station. It has a special history of its creation and a special meaning. Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant is actually the last stage of the Dnieper cascade of hydroelectric power plants. So there are a number of hydroelectric plants, and that was the final one. That was built in 1950s, and Soviet government decided to conquer nature in this project. They decided to turn the arid steppes of the southern Ukraine into the fertile lands. So the construction of this power plant took 5 years, and it was built in the very difficult circumstances, in the mud, in poverty. The builders who were building it were writing letters to their wives. They were writing, there is no water, no bread, no sewage, no housing, no money. And why construction workers and people were building it? There was no shortage of the people who wanted to join this huge Soviet project. That was the mega communist construction. People believed in propaganda. People believed about the wonderful future of the communism and socialism, and they believed in this story of the best country in the world. So they decided to endure the inconveniences, and in total 12,000 people were building this Kakhovka power plant. I'm highlighting you this number of people, 12,000 people were building the dam, because it's so important to know that in future we will have to rebuild it. So it took 12,000 people to build it during 5 years. They built this dam, and the dam of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant blocked the Dnieper River, and it created the sea, basically the sea. That was the artificial reservoir Just imagine the numbers. 200 kilometers long and 20 kilometers width. This was the space of this Kakhovka Sea, Kakhovka Reservoir. I have grown up in Zaporizhia. This is close to Kakhovka Dam and this power plant, and we were traveling from Zaporizhia to Azov Sea through this Kakhovka Sea, and that was our favorite place for making picnics. I just remember how my father used to tell me, "Look, this is the sea," like he wanted to surprise me that we have already arrived, and that was actually the sea. You looked around and you couldn't see the acres, you couldn't see the banks of the river. And the price of the Kakhovka Sea flooding is enormous, because it took thousands hectares of arable lands, of the beautiful meadows, of the beautiful hayfields. And along with that, hundreds of villagers with a total population of 37,000 people were demolished. So their authorities, they were not interested in the opinion of their residents, and they just flooded the settlements. And the people, they were obliged to relocate. This is how it was done during the Soviet era. So during the construction of Kakhovka Reservoir, 90 villagers were just covered by the water. And that was a historical era, because that was the area of so-called Great Meadow. That was the symbol of Cossack glory, the Cossack security, the Cossack will, and it was flooded. And to be honest, it is very difficult now to assess the environmental consequences, because there are no examples of such a scale of tragedy before. Just imagine, 70-year-old reservoir, and it's just draining. So it's the rage of the disaster is huge, and there are a number of possible options. What might happen? Overall, 14 out of 28 spans of the spillway dam, they were destroyed. And the total width of their breakdown is about 475 meters. So this is a global disaster, and not everyone now fully understands what will happen in future. Today is just the second day, and I decided to collect for you all possible options what might happen. First of all, this is terrible environmental, economic and social disaster. It's not a flood. It's not the flood when you are writing. In Australia we have floods and we survived them. It's not a flood. The water will not go away. The water will only increase. And as I already told you, about 80 settlements are under the threat of flooding, and they will be lost forever. The houses, the streets, the settlements, they will be flooded completely up to the roofs, in some places even higher to the roofs. And this whole territory, the towns, they will be replaced by the river. And in the coming weeks we will have thousands of families. And just keep in mind that this is not the richest region, it's not kind of Kiev. The people are poor there. They survived the ruinations of the occupation. They lost everything, absolutely, like nothing, not a thing, not even a piece of cloth. They survived shelling, liberations. They were waiting for the spring and summer to plant something, to plant the crops and to harvest. Just imagine the amount of these huge toxic substances, emissions, sewage treatment plants, their storage facilities, the gas stations, the cemeteries, and everything will be absorbed by water, because people lived there. That was the cities, the villagers. And in addition to that, Kakhovka Reservoir was the lowest in the cascade, and this is the commonly known fact that it holds everything. So for 70 years, heavy metals, the uncontrolled pollution, even the wastages of the Chernobyl power plant disaster, everything flowed into this reservoir for years. And now this mud that was staying on the bottom of this Kakhovka Sea is moving in a stream. It is flooding the fields, it is flooding the settlements. And it's really the toxic mixture. It is sweeping everything on its way. And it will flow into the villagers, and it will then flow to the Black Sea, Azov Sea. And at that point, at that moment, this will become the global problem, because it will bring everything from the cities and from the bottom of the reservoir. And the next problem is the settlements, which were located at the shore of Kakhovka Reservoir, because every hour the water level is dropping, and it means that in a few days the Kakhovka Sea will turn into the Kakhovka swamp, and there will be hundreds and thousands of hectares of just lands, and they will be covered by the dead fish. Also, the farms, they will be without any kind of technical water for irrigation. So it's really hard to imagine what will happen to the whole area when Kakhovka Reservoir disappears. Because later these millions of hectares of toxic, of contaminated substance that was lying on the bottom of the reservoir will be just on the surface. It will be exposed to everything. It will dry up, and there will be winds. The winds will be spreading the dust over the thousands of kilometers. So we really, now we can't imagine the level of the consequences of this ecocide. And it's really a war crime, and this war crime is connected to Russia, to this terrorist country. Thousands of animals, of birds will lost their habitat, and most of these habitats will never be restored. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. There is the biggest Europe's nuclear power plant, and the cooling system requires cooling the cold water even when there is the shutdown of reactors. And most likely this cooling will be cut off because it takes water from this reservoir. Water to the Crimea will be cut off again. It's just the shot in the foot for Russians, and probably they were not going to stay in Crimea for a long time. That is why they are doing this. There are people who are making working on the farmlands, and there will be no irrigation systems in many regions in Kherson and Zaporizhzhia. Everything will stop. And it is unclear whether the cultivation is currently taking place there or not, because partly it is occupied, but definitely everything will lose its meaning. There is no water and nothing will grow. Many towns and villagers, they are dependent on water from the Kakhovka power plant. Berdyansk city will be left without the drinking water. Kryvyi Rih, this is the industrial city with 600,000 people, and they consume 70% of the drinking water from the Kakhovka reservoir. So they will have to find some other source of water, and it will be difficult to provide people with the drinkable water. Also, industrial enterprises that are located on this route. There are so many metallurgical enterprises, and they will have to stop working because they need electricity, they need water. And this will lead to changes in demographics. Some people are saying that very soon we will have about 400,000 refugees, because they were not affected by the dam explosion, but they will be climate refugees in the long terms. People will not be able to live in this area. Of course, there's the simultaneous reduction of water in the huge reservoir, and this is just unpredictable for the environment. There will be a death of a lot of fish. We see even today, for the second day, we see like the whole space of the dead fish on the lands. There will be probably the climate changing in the climate regime in this region. The bottom of this reservoir will be opened and there will be kind of a new desert, dust storms, rising temperatures, and who knows how people will react to that in future. Will they be able to live there or not? The drought in the fields and in the southern region of Ukraine. And a few words for those people who believe that anybody other than Russia is responsible for the destroying of that dam. That is the territory that was controlled by their forces. And you need to do this, you need to put a huge number of explosive devices under the water and attach these devices somehow to the dam, and then you need to get away, and then you need to remotely detonate everything. And everything was under their heavy artillery. So when it is controlled by Russia, that is relatively easy. But for Ukrainians, it wasn't possible to approach the dam. They were visible, and it was not possible to put this device under the water and detonate it, and then they safely get away without leaving just the slightest trace of their presence. It's just the zero chance. First of all, we don't have any reason to destroy it. It's our dam, and we were not able doing so. So this, my opinion, that Russians did it themselves. They don't matter about consequences, about people, about lives. Russia has been waging this terror campaign against Ukrainians and Ukrainian civilians during the entire war. They are ruining our infrastructure, they are killing thousands of people, and now they have this bonus effect, destroying the dam. It's the Russian option, as they may call it. And now they took this option.
Thank you for watching a video.
Thank you, my dear friends, for coming to my channel, for watching, and we do believe in our quick victory. I'm sure that we will have unpredictable environmental changes in future because of this disaster, but I hope in this victory so we will be able to quickly restore everything. And thank you 1000 times for being a part of our story. Thank you for buying me coffees and for supporting me. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! Goodbye!
Вырежу. Ты хороший мальчик.